Well, let's get going. It's so wonderful to see so many of your familiar faces. Thank you for your continued interest in our grant opportunity. We have some new faces as well. We hope this session today sets you up for success should you decide to apply for a grant this year. Let's meet some from new faces and familiar faces. Again, my name is Ann Ye. I'm this year's grants co-chair. We have Ro Crawford Phillips, who is our co-president on joining us. We have Betsy McKnight and Keb McNeff, both of our nonprofit coordinator co-chairs this year. You'll hear from them shortly. Other people you may hear from throughout the process are going to be Holly Dietz and Marianne Donahue. They run our grant review committees. Liz McNeil is our financial review committee chair, so she may reach out to you through the process as well with questions. Mary Riley and Jackie Jankowitz, they really run the grantee relations. So they'll oversee any grantee relations post November. You'll meet them, but they are familiar faces. I would like to really thank Miss Gwendolyn Love for joining from lunch break today, and Michael Mills from Kids. They are both 2023 grant recipients. We invite them back to answer any questions from their perspective as an applicant last year, and we hope they provide you with some insight on our process. If you have not reached out to us via email, you always can. We are very responsive. We usually get back within 24 hours. It's grants@impact100jerseycoast.org, and then our website. Just a quick membership review. We are one woman, one vote. So we are a women's collective giving circle. As we have grown, our giving circle now includes many members from the nonprofit community, and it's wonderful for their voices to be shared. But we do want you to know that they are not allowed to sit or participate on a review committee, that they are part of that organization. They're also not to speak about what they see on other organizations' applications. There is no lobbying from them. So we promise that because someone, works for an organization, they cannot come in to Impact and have a say. Again, we go back to that one woman, one vote at the annual meeting. We always welcome feedback throughout the process. So if you have a suggestion to how we can be more efficient, or just something in our process that you would like to discuss, again, reach out at that grants@impact100jc.org email address. We are super excited this year to announce that our collective giving circle will be giving away $364,000 in grant funds come this November at the annual meeting. That will be 3 Impact $100,000 grants. We are committed to funding mission awards, which were new in the last 2 years. Those we are looking at up to $10,000, and that final total will be determined based on the number of finalists that we will announce at our finalist reveal in October. With that, I would like to pass it over to Keb. Keb, take it away.
It would help if I remember to unmute myself. Hi, everyone. My name is Keb Neff. Betsy McKnight and I are the nonprofit coordinator co-chairs for the 2024 grant cycle. So initially, I'm going to go over some key dates. Our eligibility form closes May 1st. So if you have not gotten that in, I encourage you to do that now. I know many of you have. Our applications are due online mid-May this year. So it is moved up from previous years. They are due Monday, May 13th at 5 p.m. And an important thing to note for this year is that rather than having finalists come to the annual meeting to present, the finalists are going to be doing pre-recorded presentations. Our goal in making this change is to reduce the stress for the presenters, and so that it is a level playing field for everyone. All the videos are going to be identically produced with the same time limits. So it's going to be a huge benefit on our end as well, so that every member is able to watch the videos, whether live or online prior to the meeting. So it evens out the voting as well. For all finalists, we will let you know ahead of time that the video will be produced during the week of October 28th. So you'll pick a date during that week. The video will be shared with our members prior to the voting, but it will also be yours to keep. So you can use it in any way you want after it's completed. And we'll have more details after site visits this year. Next slide, Anne. So this year we will be having office hours weekly through the application process. So members of the grants team will be available on these dates and times to answer questions or help with any technical issues. To get links to this, please submit your eligibility and you will get emails about these dates. So Wednesday, the 24th, we will have one via Zoom. Thursday, May 2nd, via Zoom, and then we will have an in-person one on May 10th at New Jersey City University at the campus on Fort Monmouth. I believe that at this point, if you are submitting eligibility, you are also getting both Betsy and my phone numbers in the response email. So you can reach out to us via email or by phone at any point if you have questions as well. I'm sorry, my cat just decided to join me. So, okay, so I'm going to quickly go over eligibility and application information for proposals and organizations. We have, as I mentioned, the eligibility form, and we do this so that you are not putting time into preparing an application that you might not meet our eligibility criteria. So it's all listed up there. There's also a video on our website that goes over this more thoroughly. For those who are repeat applicants, these guidelines are the same as they have been in previous years.
Have a total project budget equal to or greater than $100,000.
You want to be on the phone call?
Okay, Anne, will you go to the next slide? So in the past, we've received some questions about our process and our eligibility. So it does not have to be a new project or
Do we have a
program.
project in Monmouth County where the budget is 100,000 or more?
No, because
I'm
the
going to
small piece
ask
that we
somebody to
have is at
mute
the
themselves.
180 Turning Lives Around Justice Center thing.
Mhm.
But that's just, yeah, like our whole
Anne, are you
thing
able
is
to
on
mute
there.
this?
So,
I'm
like,
trying to find, ladies, if you can just mute yourselves. I don't know if you realize you're
I don't
you're
think
not
this is going to
muted.
be for us.
yeah, every year we kind of like try and see if there's a way to fit in, but it just, I don't think normally.
Ladies, we're hearing your cross conversation.
By now, there's no like Zoom etiquette, right?
I don't know that they've, okay. All right. So it does not have to be a new project or program. As long as you have explained the impact of the grant, you can submit applications to sustain and strengthen work that you're already doing. We have multi-year funding, but if you have a project that is 12 months rather than 24 months, that is fine. We will fund operating expenses as long as they are part of the program. So in your application, you will show how those operating expenses are integral to the program. There's no restriction on the amount of those operating expenses. We cannot accept contingencies past September 15th, such as for building permits or construction permits. It's too many unknowns. So in order to keep that clean, we need to have those in place by September 15th. You can go to the next slide, Anne. If your organization cannot meet our eligibility criteria, you may be able to apply as a collaboration with another organization that, and usually I think it's for financial reasons. So if there is an organization that you can partner with that meets the eligibility criteria, that's a wonderful thing for both of you. Doing this allows us to provide funding to recently formed organizations or grassroots organizations. Generally, the responsibility for completing the application in this situation is on the lead organization, but usually they are more established and they're more equipped to do this kind of reporting. And also enables the lead organization to provide funds to smaller boots on the ground organizations. So we've had a lot of collaboration grants be successful in previous years. Next slide. And our new pilot for 2024, in order to provide funding for smaller organizations, is called the Ignites program or Ignite program. And the purpose of this is to provide that funding to new organizations. And it's based on community feedback and member feedback and the understanding about the huge amount of work that is being done by those smaller organizations. The process for the Ignite grant will be more simple and streamlined. Funding will be unrestricted. It's still being worked on, but more details will be coming out soon, likely by the end of April. If you want to share this information with community partners and organizations that you know, we would really appreciate that. And if you want to know more about this, you can email us at grants@impact100jc.org. If you put Ignite in the subject line, we will make sure that email gets to the proper people who can respond to questions. So the grants process begins with accessing the eligibility form on our website. As I said, I think most of you have already done so. You're going to go to our main page, and under the How to Apply tab, this takes you to the eligibility form. After completing your eligibility form, you'll get an email that it has been received. And with that email, at this point, you will get a link to the application as well. If you're not eligible, you'll get an email letting you know that as well, and the reasons that you are not meeting our eligibility criteria. If you have submitted an eligibility form and you have not received an email, or you don't receive an email within 24 hours or so, please contact us. We do want to make sure your information is considered as soon as it is submitted. Next slide. Our application is similar to last year, but every year we make some small adjustments in response to feedback that we receive through our nonprofit surveys. We are again looking for proposals that clearly articulate with evidence how the project or program aligns with our funding priorities. So who is the underserved population? As you're doing your applications, explain clearly who the population is, where they're located, and in what way are they underserved? How and why are they currently being underserved? Perhaps government funding doesn't include them, or they're an unrecognized population, but spell that out for our members. Our next question is, what are the unmet needs, and how will your project specifically address those needs? It's important, again, that your application clearly spells this out, how it targets that need, and what won't be met, why it wouldn't be met without your program. How and why is your organization best placed to address those needs? And what is the service delivery gap that won't be filled without your program? When you're thinking about this project, you may want to consider what would happen without it. Why is it necessary that you do your project at this time in the community? And also, describe the high impact that this will have on the beneficiaries of the project. This may be that you impact a greater number of people, or it may be that you have a high impact on a small number of people. Either one of those is fine. Housing and wraparound services for 5 individuals can be truly life-changing. So spell that out. Use both outputs and outcomes as you tell your story in your application. Next. When you're developing your presentation, please remember that the strength and impact of the proposal are really important. This doesn't imply that you need a professional grant writer or that any of those bells and whistles are essential to this. It really needs to tell the story in a way that makes people understand why you're submitting an application and why you're proposing this. So now I'm going to introduce Betsy McKnight, who's my nonprofit co-chair. Take it away, Betsy.
Hi, everyone. I'm Betsy McKnight. I'm the nonprofit coordinator co-chair. Many of you may know me from prior communications, and I, along with Keb, are your go-to for questions that you might have along the way in the process. So above are the questions that are specific to our application. And please know that a large portion of our application is submitting your organization's profile and financial information, which is very similar to other grants you would apply for. Note that the first question is your opportunity to really make your application come alive. Try to imagine what you would include in your finalist presentation and work back from those key points to illustrate the transformational impact of the project. You want to be specific about how the funds will be used and how the project goals will be achieved with those funds. And you really want to revisit this question at the end before you submit, because this is, this is a first impression to the people who are going to be reviewing your application. Next slide, please. So, applications that stand out. Be mindful to describe your organization and the program as if the reader has never heard of you before. Remember, the mix of women on your grant review committee will be different than last year and maybe even the year before if you've applied previously. Proofreading is vital. Mistakes and typos distract and remove the reader from your narrative. We say this every year and they still slip through every year, so we just emphasize it. We really want a well-written, clear, concise proposal. Not only should the person writing the grant take the time to proofread, but consider having multiple readers of the proposal, those that have different roles in the organization, perhaps somebody from outside the organization, to make sure that your message is being delivered as intended. Examples of additional readers could be a board member, an employee or volunteer, or someone who's just completely unaffiliated and outside of the organization to give a different perspective. Be sure to include those that will provide candid comments and constructive advice that will confirm or, if needed, improve your narrative. We will communicate with you directly from Submittable to ask you to submit any missing documents if needed, but please do it in advance of the May 13th deadline. To be fair to other groups, all documents have to be submitted by that May 13th deadline. With the application process, be as transparent as you can with any possible contingencies that could be outstanding for your application at the time of your submission, and explain how your organization intends to mitigate them. As Keb mentioned, we can't move an application forward if the contingencies cannot be resolved by September 15th. And finally, please describe your organization's ability to sustain the project after the grant period ends. If the project is not itself sustained, perhaps your organization can describe the lasting effect of the project on the underserved and how the value of the project will live on in the community. Next slide, please. So at the beginning of August, all nonprofits will hear whether or not they're continuing on in the process. Approximately 3 to 5 proposals are selected for a site visit in each grant review committee. A site visit usually takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours max, and they are in person. The grant review committee members will conduct site visits to hear firsthand about the impact that the grant could have. So the objectives of the site visit are to meet key staff members in person and board members, Key staff are those who are best prepared to speak to the proposal and answer questions. It's really the committee's chance to conduct due diligence review, to resolve and clarify outstanding questions from the application, and to find out more detailed information about the organization and your project. We want to gain a deeper understanding of the goals and intended impact of your submitted proposal. And all finalists who get site visits are invited to submit a wish list, which is shared with the entire impact membership and are kept on our website for the year. So this provides an opportunity to get donations, both monetary and in kind, as well as potential volunteers or even board members. Next slide, please. So tips for a successful site visit. Same outline. It's never too early to prepare what you want to say to the entire impact membership if you're a finalist. Why your proposal is so necessary for your constituents. The site visit committee, it's your first live audience, so it enables you to gauge reactions to see what points you make resonate and what draws questions. Remember that this committee is asking questions that will be of interest to the entire membership. With your final presentation in November, unanswered questions to relevant topics can become doubts. The speakers you choose are vital. Make sure that they're easily understood, articulate, and dynamic. And, perhaps even consider, looking up, some information about media training since it's going to be a video. Make the tour relevant to the proposal. We don't need to see the boiler room unless you're asking for a new boiler. Next slide, please. So this year, our annual meeting will take place the week of November 18th. In advance of the meeting, a finalist liaison will be appointed to every finalist. The finalist liaison is your link to impact, your cheerleader, and is very helpful at this step of the process. We encourage you to take their advice seriously as they know what their fellow impact members are interested in. Our members will receive a finalist packet that will contain an informational sheet on each finalist. The questions we ask you to answer, you can take off your submitted application and make edits based on feedback from your liaison, maybe questions that kept coming up during your site visit, etc. And then again, it's one member, one vote to determine which finalist will receive the grant. So at the annual meeting, members will view your video message. Members cast their vote following the presentations, and votes are immediately tallied by an independent auditor, and the grant recipients are announced that evening. Next slide, please. We love to share the impact that our collective grants are having on to help those in need in our community. So we ask our grantees to help us keep track of that impact in two ways. We draw up a grant agreement outlining key benchmarks and corresponding fund payment distribution, depending on the project timeline. And we asked you to submit just 2 reports, a midterm halfway through and a final report when the funds have been spent. This year, we greatly streamlined our reporting requirements so that we only ask the very essential questions to be able to share the wonderful work our grantees are doing with our membership. The grant liaisons, we found them to be an invaluable resource and point of contact, and we're committed to working with our grantees and being as flexible as we understand the challenges nonprofits are facing. And the impact, we show our members that the contributions they have made in our community by sharing information with each grantee about the measurable impact their project has on the lives of those served. Next slide, please. So I just want to reassure you that funding is possible for any project that meets the Impact 100 guidelines. You've taken the first proven step towards success by attending today. All of our prior grantees have participated in the info session process before submitting their grant request. Don't be discouraged if you've applied before. Of the 18 prior grantees, 50% of our grantees applied 3 or more times before becoming a grantee. And if this is your first time applying, know that 4 of our grantees were awarded their project on their first try. The process really can work for everyone. Our grantees' proposals have had a broad diversity of projects, focusing on addressing hunger, supporting healthcare, developing the arts, addressing the oceans, and supporting youth. And geographically, our grantees' projects have come from offices serving throughout Monmouth County. Financially, our finalists span a wide range of revenues. Last year, we had finalists with a revenue in the $500,000 range. We had some in the $1 million range, and one was over $10 million. What is important to us is that the project can be executed and the organization can manage the $100,000 effectively. There's no magic formula for organizational size, location, or project type of focus. Your funding focus, proposal focus remains a specific project that meets the funding priorities, has a high impact, and is articulated clearly. Next slide, please. The benefits of the process, even if you're not selected as a grant recipient, we've heard feedback that the process gives in-depth, unique insight into your organization and programs to hundreds of philanthropic-minded women ready to give their time, talent, and treasure. It's great exposure. Members become aware of needs and great work being done locally to address needs in the community. And the site visit gives Impact Women additional insights into the nonprofits and their programs. There's some feedback built into the process, whether it's along with the notifications, questions, and comments at site visits or during rehearsal for the video presentation. Members learn about your needs through our wish list, your wish lists, and can get involved in a myriad of ways which are meaningful to your organization. And the process helps you to hone your goals, outcomes, and missions, leading to you to a stronger position with other funders. Next slide, please. So should you reapply? Yes. Our members come to the table with fresh eyes and new perspectives. So there's no need to reinvent the wheel if the need is still there and you feel your proposed project is best placed to meet those needs. Each year is a new opportunity, and you come back with more experience and understanding of the process. And that's why we've had applicants in our grant pool who've come back and been successful. Next slide, please. In 2004, we will award a total of $3.24 million in our 9 years of giving. And here are some of the past recipients. And next slide. We've given them to more than 35 Monmouth County nonprofits, and this year it could be you. And at this time, I'd like to welcome one of our 2023 grant recipients, Michael Mills. Welcome, Michael. If you could please introduce yourself. And
Yes. Peace and love, family. And yeah, thank you for having me here. Just wondering, do you want me to answer the questions all together, or do you want me to go back and forth, Q&A, or how would you like the style? But
if you want to just start telling us a little bit about yourself.
yeah.
And about your organization, and then I'll ask you some questions.
Beautiful. So peace and love, family. My name is Michael Mills, one of the co-founders of Conscious Youth Development and Service, KYDS. I often mention this. We spell 2 words wrong on purpose, especially since we're in education. But our organization's mission is to transform youth, schools, and communities through holistic practices. And a lot of our work is focused on the inner, building inner resilience, self-awareness, self-regulation, and helping individuals really just awaken to the greatness inside of them. We work with youth. We have school-based programs where we're working with youth doing assemblies, workshops, small group settings. And in Asbury Park, we have a full-time contract where our staff are there right now. It should be there right now, working in the school settings K through 12. And then we extend that throughout the state of New Jersey. We've been in over 150 schools throughout the state. And then we have an integration of beautiful community programs, mainly focused in Asbury Park, but really extended throughout Monmouth County, where we do during the summer programs, youth programs, enrichment programs, one of them that we applied for with the Impact 100 grant that we got. And just a well-rounded organization, small team, big dream, and we have a lot of impact throughout the state. So that's us in a nutshell. You can find out more about our organization on our website or on social media. But the program that we applied for with Impact 100 is called Conscious Leadership and Entrepreneurship, which is a gem, and it's close to my heart because we started this program in Asbury Park called JET, Junior Entrepreneurship Training Program, in 2014 in Asbury Park. Us and a few other organizations, Boys and Girls Club, Interfaith Neighbors, and we've been running the program ever since. And then when the pandemic hit, that program took a fall and it never really came back into existence. And I was starting to see a lot of kids in their college years, talking about how significant that program was and how it really changed their life. And I'm like, oh wow, we got to really bring this back, because it's a beautiful integration to the work that we do, which is inner, but also how do I express myself and learn 21st century skills and really build my capacity to be a leader in this world. So we took the perfect marriage of our philosophy and what we do as far as wellness and put it into JET, and we came with conscious leadership and entrepreneurship, which was successful at the Impact 100 finalists. So it's a beautiful dream, beautiful dream.
Wonderful. That's great. Now I know, Michael, you and I have spoken. This was your first time applying, right, for the Impact Grant?
No, we applied for a good 4 or 5 years.
You did. Okay. We were trying to figure that one out, because I know you and I spoke on years that before you could apply. And then how did you decide, that this was the first year you applied? How did you decide that was the year?
The first year, it was just people telling me about Impact 100, this beautiful grant opportunity. And mind you, at the time, our resources as a small nonprofit organization were very thin. So the first year, I think it might have been 2018 or 19, one of those, don't quote me, but I'm after school-based programs, I'm sitting at High Voltage in Asbury Park writing this grant and trying to get it done. And, it was like really just one single person writing it and submitting it, whereas like the years after, slowly but surely, we started integrating more staff into the mix. And then finally, which really made the biggest difference, is having a resource, a dedicated fundraising resource, write the grant for us, which helped out because you spoke about it during the presentation today, because we write it from the lens of we already know the program, we're in the mix, so we're not writing it from the lens of, oh, I know nothing about this program. And so having someone who knew nothing about the program writing the grant and asking us these key questions really supported us in gaining more clarity and making it more direct as far as the application and what was submitted.
So that leads to my next question. So smaller organizations who are on the call today, or some who are on the fence about applying, what would your suggestions be to them?
I'm gonna suggest what Impact kept suggesting to us: keep applying. And one thing that really was different, and I mentioned this just a minute ago, but having different eyes reviewing the application, not just for misspellings and grammatical errors, but it was just really just like, is this clear? Is it concise? Is it to the point? Does it make sense? And is this an impactful program that someone who is part of Impact 100 would want to support? So having different eyes looking at the program and really like amplifying the different aspects that we can bring into it or subtract from it really made a difference. Because I'd say it was like a beautiful mix of me, the co-founder, Rodney Solomon, and different eyes and fundraising looking at it, and some other staff, key staff, who just look at it. They weren't writing the grant with us, but they were just looking at it. It's like, okay, does this make sense? And just really having different eyes really made a true impact to the final submission.
That's great. Is there anything else you want to add, or, we're going to open it up now to questions on the chat. If anyone has any questions, or if you don't have them this second and you want to think about what Michael said and come back, let us know.
I will say this, each application we applied for a different category in a different setting. So finding the niche of you is very important, because this, I think, and maybe Impact 100 thinks this too, because they approved it and voted on it. This particular application was very important and very relevant in society right now, with the youth and everything that we're facing with the mental health crisis. And we're able to really articulate that picture of the problem, the undressed need that needs to be met. I think that really made a difference in the application, because I don't think our previous applications were connected to the current times and what's current and relevant as far as the needs of Monmouth County in 2024, 25, whatever the application year is. So I just wanted to lift that up too, because I think that was a big shift in this application.
That's great, Michael. Thank you so much. Now, at this time, I want to introduce Gwen Love. Gwen, can you just tell us briefly a little bit about your organization, yourself, and your experience with Impact?
Sure. I'm sorry. Earlier, I had a drop call, so I apologize. But yes, thank you for the opportunity to speak. like Michael, Lunch Break, well, first of all, Lunch Break is located in Red Bank. We're a social service agency, 41 years serving the community. We provide a community kitchen, a pantry, a choice pantry. We've just finished a pretty nice size expansion, which allows us to do more with our training space and our wellness space, our clothing as well. But a couple of years ago, about 2 years ago, Family Promise of Monmouth County did merge into Lunch Break, and Family Promise provides emergency shelter for families that are in crisis, and we house them in hotels at this time, and while we provide wraparound services from the food, the clothing, but also case management, trying to get them back on their feet with looking at their jobs, trying to get them to be able to increase their income through employment, their financial literacy, things like that. Just total wraparound services so that when they leave the hotel, they've got money saved up. They understand what budgeting is, and many times, where there's also resources available that we provide for them or expose them to, or the referral for their children as well. So, and that was what we wrote the grant for this time. But this was our fourth time. We included the fact that we had tried when you first started Impact with our Life Skills program, and we applied, for the Life Skills program, and I believe the second one was Life Skills, probably also. The third one actually was a grant that had already been written before the merger with Lunch Break, and so it was for Family Promise, but we were really still in the midst of the merger, and it was very challenging to try to answer the questions because it was a grant written before they by someone else, and we were in the midst of the merger, and so I kind of said, we're not going to get this because we're not even sure, we can't even answer these questions ourselves, and we don't know what we don't know and things like that. But we tried for that fourth time, and it was for Family Promise, and we did it again because we just felt like, we have a good story to tell, and we know we're doing really, really good work, and we're helping a lot of people, and we just said we're going to keep trying because at some point they're going to give it to Lunch Break, and you did, and I will tell you that if there was anything to tell those that either have not applied yet or in the process of applying for the second or third time, just keep trying, because I do believe that the women that are in this impact really do want to help, and they do have an impact, and other things have come out even year after year of people reading our grants, and the first year with the Life Skills, we actually did receive, we did get an interview. And so, but we still didn't go to the next level. But from that, there were people that reached out, and some have become volunteers or donors. So I would say, the effort is not wasted. It is not wasted. I don't care if it's the second, third, and here we are the fourth time. The effort is not wasted. And you are telling your story. You're telling your story to whether they're new people or not new people, you're telling your story. And that's what we do, right, all the time, whether we're speaking in front of a crowd, or we're writing a grant, or we're whatever. So you get that opportunity each and every time to write that grant. So keep at it, and keep at it. You will get that grant. I do believe that.
Oh, that's great. I don't even have any follow-up questions for that because you pretty much covered it. I just want to make sure that there's no one else who's on the call who has any questions. This is your chance to ask two very different nonprofits in terms of, size and scope, but yet, are grantees. So it really does show that the field is wide open.
I just want to add too that the process, although you gave a very comprehensive detail of the process, and it may sound overwhelming, but I will tell you that your team is very well all respond. You are responsive. You do respond to emails. You do help. And so I think that although the process, when you were just detailing it, sounds like a lot,
Hey, Christy.
and it is a
Were
lot,
you
but
ever
you're not
asked
by
how many?
yourself.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I do want to emphasize, Kev and I have put our cell phones out there and we do pick up and we do answer questions. No question is too small. We'll help you walk through the process, or, if you just want to talk through what you're thinking of, we will do it. And Michael can attest, I talked to you before you were eligible, and then right on through. So
Had a lot of contact with the many individuals with Impact 100, and it was very, very informative. So definitely appreciate that. Just hope they speak to what they can.
Yes, yes.
Without crossing any boundaries.
yes. That is true.
We have no additional questions in the chat, so if anyone has something that they just want to come off mute and ask, any of our guests or anyone from Impact, please feel free.
Hi, everyone. I have a question. This is Karen Keene from Monmouth Conservation Foundation. We've applied twice in the past and are grateful to give it a shot again. I was wondering, from the nonprofits that are recipients or just insight from others, if there's ever been struggles with, a lot of us are little nonprofits, and understandably, you guys want grant reports and you want grantees to take part in events and share with current members the impact that they've made. Have you ever had struggles with that, where nonprofits couldn't meet those demands, or weren't available to take part in events and show the impact that they've made? Or you know what I mean? I'm worried about the long-term deliverables, and we want to knock it out of the park, and I don't know.
Thank you so much for that question. I think Michael and Gwen, while we just kicked off our grant agreements in January, I think they can attest to, we don't really ask you to go above and beyond what the grant reports, which you will have impact in all of those in the post grantee oversight. It's a conversation with us to make those deliverables to what you think you can do. It's not us telling you. And those new reports, how we've streamlined the reporting, it's a separate column that right next to what we've talked about, and you say, yes, we met it, or no, we didn't. Okay. As far as participation at events, we try to be fair to all of our grantees, but we don't expect them to do much engagement with us. We invited Michael today and Miss Love today. We probably won't invite them to something this summer, meaning we won't ask them to do something. It's not, I would like them to speak on their experience so far, but I would say it's a really low lift once you become a grantee. We want you to focus on executing the proposal that we voted on, and not, coming and having to do something for us.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. I mean, it hasn't been. I mean, you're again, we had the grant, our contract sent to us early on, and and we took, that was an easy thing to take care of. It wasn't like a lawyer's contract or anything that was confusing or anything. And even with that, along the way, there was just, if you had questions or whatever. And so there were questions that we had internally in terms of meeting our goals and everything. And again, people are accessible. They're all accessible. And I think the thing to feel is that these are women who are part of our community, and I think that they want us to succeed. And so I just feel that if we come up against a barrier or a question or a concern, just think of it like that. These are your community neighbors. These are your neighbors, and they want you to succeed. And just I think that they're helpful. And whereas some of your when we write grants, sometimes they're so far away, they're very far removed from us and everything like that. So. But this is a different experience so far, I feel anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and I'll just add, because even though we're new in the process, one of the things that they've that we submit is that milestone document, which is just a beautiful timeline that you would probably do anyway, project timeline of your program. And it's just now just sharing that timeline with Impact 100, but it's not like so tedious of like, oh, you have to have this done for, you know, this timeline, this, that, and the third, because we actually made an adjustment on our timeline already, based on like different circumstances that were beyond our control. And it was very supportive. It was like, it didn't change anything so much, but we just pushed our launch date a little further back. And it was just beautiful to see how receptive our grant liaison was in that process and how open it was. So it's not a tedious lift, I will say that, especially as a smaller nonprofit, and it's very much manageable. And it's great to see such powerful and women in Impact 100 supporting this as well, because not only is your program being launched, but it's launched with the support of a larger community who will be there to see it supported and successful.
Yeah, the big purpose of a lot of the updates we ask for from the nonprofit, from the grantees, is that we want to share it with our members. We want to help you be successful and launch your program, like Michael said. I see we have a hand raised. I can't see a name, so just go ahead.
Hey everyone, Robbie, peace, love, and light to everybody today. And may we all be able to continue our day and be the expression of what is, and be present with our family members, our loved ones, and our coworkers and so on. Sometimes we miss the moment, you know, we're always so busy trying to get to the next one. That's what I did my whole life. I'm running to the next moment, and I never was able to enjoy the one I was in. So one of the questions I have is I'm looking at this part here. It says the proposed project start date. And underneath it says, if you are expanding a current project / program, please select January 1st, 2025. So is that implying that if it's a new project, not expanding on an old one, that you should select a different date than January 1st, 2025? Or I'm confused on that. Because I'm not sure if it's,
So
we basically have something that we've been starting to do with other programs like New Jersey Reentry and the STAR program, Support Team Addiction, other programs. And if they complete an orientation, say, for example, with New Jersey Reentry, then we fund them for a week of their living expenses in their recovery housing or sober living to help them transition from addiction or rehab into living normal life. And so we're in that sense, we're expanding on that, but not necessarily. Like, it could be new, it could be, you know, I'm not really sure where we fit on that. So
Robbie, that's a great question. We put that in because our grant agreement will happen. We'll vote this year in November of 2024, and our grant agreement will start January 2025. So that is when when we like to give the big check out at the annual meeting, but you can't take it to the bank the next day and cash it. We have the conversation in the month of December, and then you'll receive the funds starting in January. So that's why we put that date. But there should be an option where you say it's either you're expanding the existing program, or it's brand new. Our members just want to know what they're looking at, if it's been started, or if it's something that you're going to be creating.
yeah, we've been doing it, but our funding comes from collection boxes and pizza places and restaurants from private donors, and so we might buy someone a work shirt, and it takes 3 months to collect that in a collection box at a local business in Asbury Park. So it's like it's very hard to receive the funds, and it goes so quick that it's like, oh my God. So yeah, but that's the thing. So that's great information. Thank you.
Great.
I'm sure a lot of organizations on this call right now can relate to that. It takes a lot of time to raise the funds, and then it just goes. Anyone else, feel free to raise their hand or just come off mute. I want to just reiterate, email us, call us. You can't really call, but if you submitted eligibility, you'll have Betsy and Keb's numbers. please, we encourage you to reach out to us. Like Michael said, we want to be seen as a partner through this process. Even if you're not a grantee in future years to come, we're so happy to see a lot of return applicants, hopefully on this call now, but we welcome all the new faces. Best of luck to everyone this year. And with that, thank you so much for attending. I will stop the recording.